Welcome to another team selection video ahead of match day 2, and there are a few possibilities for me, including using my 2 free transfers or using the Limitless chip. And be sure to check my chip strategy guide as well as the best Limitless team videos, which should cover everything you need to know. Let's get this video to over 300 likes, and we're so close to 14,000 subscribers, so let's keep on pushing. And thank you very much to everyone who's already subscribed to the channel and all the patrons and channel members. But without further ado, let's get straight into this one. In match day 1, I scored 116 points, and everyone apart from Reinildo Mandava returned. And actually, if we talk about him specifically, he would have got a clean sheet, but around the 96th minute, Porto scored an equaliser, but that was also in vain because Atletico Madrid ended up scoring in the 110th minute with an Antoine Griezmann winner. But Reinildo Mandava was on for a 7-pointer and wasn't able to secure that, unfortunately. But you can't really complain with this. Courtois with a clean sheet, and he also got 4 saves, so he was the highest scoring goalkeeper in match day 1. Very happy with him. Then you have Koundé, who didn't keep the clean sheet against Pilsen, but he got an assist and he got 6 balls recovered, so once again, no complaints whatsoever. Guerreiro was maybe a bit hard done by in terms of the man of the match. He could have earned that award, but it ended up going to Julian Brandt. He scored a goal, kept a clean sheet, got 5 ball recoveries as well to cap off an incredible performance for a 4.5 million defender. It's just a shame they face Man City next. Joao Cancelo with 15-pointer with 2 assists, and he was just a great asset in general. 9 ball recoveries as well, just to add a few more points there for the Portuguese fullback. And then Otamendi, 11 balls recovered and a clean sheet there in match day 1. So overall, really good stuff. And the defense was arguably the weakest part because of Reinildo Mandava. But then you look at my bench, for example, before I move on to the other key players. Gribic didn't start, and this was quite surprising because he was supposed to start in match day 1 and Oblak would return for match day 2. But it looks like he made an early recovery, so Gribic didn't play. But we did have a few other 4 million goalkeepers like Meyer, who stood in for the injured Kobel for Borussia Dortmund, and also Perrin, who is probably the most nailed 4 million goalkeeper in the long term. Brobbey didn't even start the game, which was a bit of a shame. But then the kind of alternative to him for me, which would have been Jukla, started but didn't do anything, so he got 2 points instead of 1. So not really a huge difference there. João Mario was very disappointing. I thought he could do something there in match day 1, and he is on penalties for Benfica, but still, he's 6 million. You can't expect too much more, and very happy with my team despite, that blank. Nkuku was the most disappointing player overall. 9 million, his form in the Bundesliga, scoring in every single game. What he did in the Champions League group stages last season, he scored a hat-trick in match day 1 against Man City this time last year, but he blanked. And Leipzig were toothless, and they got destroyed by Shakhtar Donetsk at home 4-1. So Nkuku was definitely the big disappointment. But Højbjerg, I talked about him, I highlighted him several times in my videos and streams, and I just had a feeling he'd do something, pretty spectacular. And he got an assist on top of the ball recoveries. But if we're being honest, you're mainly going to have him for those ball recoveries and defensive actions, nothing else. But he can get the occasional goal and assist, as he has shown in the Premier League this season. He's already scored 2 goals there. And then Steven Bergwijn, he's had an incredible start to his Ajax career. He does face Liverpool next, who will be looking to bounce back from such a disappointing start to the season. But Bergwijn for 7 million is one of the very best options. And then Vinicius Jr., 8-pointer. Real Madrid were struggling in the first half. Benzema came off injured, but they still produced a response and ended up winning comfortably. And Vinicius Jr. is arguably one of the very best premiums in the game, especially in the midfield position. And then finally, the 2 attackers that we need to talk about. Robert Lewandowski with an 18-pointer. And this is probably the issue when you have a good captain in the first day, which I did with Haaland. He got a 10-pointer, and I thought that was just about enough to secure the captaincy and to not switch to Lewandowski. But in the end, those of you that maybe had a blank for your first day captain, you ended up switching to Lewandowski as your captain, and then you got even more points as a result. So these things can happen, but fair play to those of you Captain Lewandowski. And there are so many captaincy options. You've got Mbappe as well, got 13 points, and many others. So as you can see, there's no real standouts. It's just a big shame that most of the best captaincy options, especially for match day 2, are all on the 14th of September on the Wednesday, and we don't have as many viable choices on the Tuesday. But that was my match day 1 performance. I'm very happy with it. It's a great start to the season, and I think I can also step it up and start closing in on the ranks I want. But of course, it's very early days. I like where I'm at the moment, and it's actually an even better start than I did last season, where I got around 56 points or something like that. A very awful start in comparison to this. So let's keep on pushing. And now let me show you the different plans I have for my matchday 2 team selection. Without making any transfers, this is how my team would look like in Matchday 2, and Lewandowski would be my captain for the first day, and on the second I will be looking at Erling Haaland. So quite simple on that front, but the big issue is the fixtures, and also a few other problems, such as Gribic, who isn't even going to start anyway. So I only have Courtois as my goalkeeper, which to be fair isn't the worst thing in the world, but Gribic away to Leverkusen, he's not even going to play, and not going to expect anything on that front. Then you look at the defence, Reynilde away to Leverkusen is fine. It's not a bad fixture, and he will start the game. Let's see if they can keep a clean sheet. But then you have Koundé away to Bayern Munich, and whilst he can get ball recovery points, do you expect attacking returns? Probably not, and a clean sheet is even less likely, to be fair. So Koundé is just someone that I wouldn't expect many points from. Joao Cancelo is someone I would have on the Limitless, on the wild card, or as a free transfer, so he's someone I'm very happy with. Then you look at Otamendi, who can get ball recovery points, and despite Juventus struggling compared to the years gone by, I still think that Juventus will score a goal here, and Otamendi's ceiling will be lowered, and he'll probably just get 4 to 5 points maximum. But of course, I could be wrong about that. Joao Mario is on penalties for Benfica, but once again, that Juventus game will be relatively tough, and I would expect Benfica to concede a few goals, and it could be maybe a 2-1 either way. It could be a draw, but I'm not a big fan of these Juventus and Benfica assets in Matchday 2. Guerreiro is even worse. He's away to Man City, and I expect Man City to possibly keep a clean sheet and to also score a few goals past Dortmund, a 2-0 for example. So Guerreiro, despite his heroics in Matchday 1, he's someone I'm looking to offload in Matchday 2. And the same goes for Grimaldo if you have him, who got a 20-pointer. I would probably say the same thing, just like Guerreiro, but Grimaldo is maybe a bit more enticing and appealing because Juventus for me is a much better fixture than Man City away. Then we look at the midfield. Bergwijn is away to Liverpool, and despite their struggles, Liverpool rarely lose at Anfield. I think they've only lost against Inter Milan at home last season in the Champions League, and they never lose in the Premier League, for example, even when they struggle. I think the last time they lost was maybe 2 years ago there. So Bergwijn still has a pretty tough task there to get returns against Liverpool, which is possible, especially on the counter-attack, but I wouldn't be too convinced. Then you have Højbjerg away to Sporting Lisbon. I think that's fine. He's a cheap option, and he should get some ball recovery points. Vinicius Jr. at home to Leipzig looks really good, but I'm less confident now in Nkunku after what we saw in Matchday 1, and Leipzig are just disjointed, and they just haven't been showing form in all competitions, but Nkunku was showing some returns. And whilst he's still a good option at 9 million, and he can come good, even against Madrid, I would rather go for Leroy Sané or other options around the same price and below. But then you have the two strikers here, Haaland and Lewandowski. Despite the fixture for Robert Lewandowski, I'm still quite happy with him. And Haaland is one of the best options in the game, especially with the fixtures. Robbie probably won't start against Liverpool. So as you can see, I have quite a lot of issues with my team, not just in terms of fixtures, but also in terms of players not starting, like Gribic and Brobbey, and also a few other doubts about players who are quite expensive like Nkunku, who might not offer as good value as other players in the game. So now let me show you two possible transfers I could make if I decide not to use the Limitless this week. And then at the very end, I'm going to talk about the Limitless team, and you can check out my best Limitless team video for more insight. But I'm also going to be talking about a few other updates and maybe some insight into how I'm thinking in terms of the players I'm not too sure about on the Limitless. With two free transfers, I would look to get Sergio Ramos or another 5 million defender like Christian Romero in for Koundé, and the other transfer would be Leroy Sané in for Nkunku. And whilst this team would definitely improve as a result, I still have Brobbey, who is probably not going to start the game. Gribic won't start at all. Then you have players with tough fixtures like Bergwijn, Otamendi and Joao Mario. I have no PSG coverage in attack whatsoever, including Mbappe, who is arguably the best captaincy option this week. So there are definitely still some issues, and if I don't wildcard a Limitless, I could actually fall down in terms of the ranks, but the Limitless could actually propel me up. So for those of us that kind of built a team that was really tailor-made for Matchday 1, it does make sense to Limitless in Matchday 2. However, as I discussed in the chip strategy video, the Matchday 3 and 4 fixtures look even better from a Limitless perspective when you look at it in isolation, because you have more options on the Tuesday and you can balance it out between the Tuesday and Wednesday games. The Bayern Munich and Barcelona players have a better fixture compared to Matchday 2 when Bayern and Barca obviously face each other. So there's definitely a few things to consider when you are going to finalize your chip strategy, but I have to say I probably will be looking to use the Limitless in Matchday 2, and I will be confirming this in the next few days, especially in the deadline stream. So now let me show you what I have with the Limitless team, which is very similar to what I showed in the best Limitless team video, but there are a few things that I'm unsure about, and I'm going to highlight that right now. There are some players that I'm convinced about, like Courtois, even Hakimi, although there is the chance that Mukiele could start in his place. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a bit of a difficult one with his form. The same goes for Reece James, Raheem Sterling, and a few others. But on the whole, I'm very happy with this. Joao Cancelo is a must in my opinion. Then you have Ivan Perisic, who's a great differential option as well with the attacking threat, and he's got a decent fixture. Leroy Sané, De Bruyne, Vinicius, and Salah is a really good looking midfield. And of course, we have Sterling as well. But Salah and Sterling are off form, and they are both risky picks at this moment in time, especially with Salah, who is facing Ajax, who are no mugs and could produce a result there at Anfield. The front three, I think, is just understandable. The absence of Lewandowski is tough, but he is facing Bayern Munich, and I think this front three is probably the best you can assemble on a Limitless. But just to kind of highlight the players that I'm really unsure about, Salah, he might become someone else on the Limitless. Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Sterling, and Onana. But the rest, I think, I'd be very happy with. But let's wait and see with Hakimi as well. He's another one that I have a few doubts about. But the rest, I would say, is very nailed on. Let me know which players you would go for in those positions. So we're really looking at 3 defenders, we're looking at 2 midfielders, but the rest would probably stay the same, apart from the other goalkeeper as well. And Onana is actually not that big of a deal. Some of us are expecting Handanovic to potentially become the goalkeeper once again. He is playing all the league games, and Onana started in the only Champions League game so far. But we do get the Inter Milan lineups before the deadline, so if Onana starts, I probably will go for him instead of going for Alisson, if not Lloris. But I have those kind of other options in check, just in case, having that contingency plan. And I'm very satisfied with the vast majority of this squad, but there are still a few areas which I still think needs a bit of fine-tuning. It's a shame that the Liverpool assets aren't on form. Otherwise, I think a lot of us would be going for triple Liverpool, whether we go for double defence with Alisson and Trent, and we go for Salah, or we go for double attack. But let's wait and see, because sometimes the fact that they're off form, no one wants to go for these Liverpool assets, it might make them even more enticing, because once things do click, they probably will produce some big returns and they will do a really good job for you. But it's very difficult to say that right now, especially with Ajax being such a tough game. So that is how my team is looking like right now in terms of the Limitless draft. It's pretty much the same as the best Limitless team, but there are still a few things that need to be ironed out and completely solidified and confirmed before the deadline. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes, and be sure to tune in for the deadline stream, and let's hit 14,000 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a patron or a channel member. The links are in the description below. The same goes for the UCL Fantasy League, as well as the Discord server. So it'd be a pleasure to have you on there. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 2 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.